Right, so back at it, just have a drink, and I'm going to go on to the sort of intermediary stuff about strength of schedules and your Buchholz. And that's all that means, by the way. Buchholz is just a fancy word for strength of schedule. So, again, there's loads of different ways of skinning a cat in this case for Swiss tournaments. And how to rank people, there are lots of ways. Lots and lots and lots of ways. But most of them can be worked out after the fact using these. Unfortunately, if you want to stay absolutely true to the Swiss rule number 1 of winners play winners and losers play losers, as you go, you need to work out the strength of schedule so that the two people on the highest strength of schedule for a given win-loss ratio play each other, because they are the winners. They are the winningest. So how do you do that as you go? Well, let's reset the tournament. So find Alice. There we go. We've got another Alice. Got another Bob. Another Dave. Another Cindy. Another Emma. Another Fred. Another Grayson, Harry, and then Rick in 9th once again. New tournament, 9 players, new tournament. We're going to do very similar to what we did, but as we go, we're going to be calculating strength of schedule, the Buchholz strength of schedule. So, start again, get a bunch of people, randomise them up, set out the round pairings. So, Emma v Dave, Grace v Harry, this is very random, Cindy v Rick, Bob v Alice, Fred gets the bye. Let's do Fred again, and start off with Fred, so we know Fred gets round number 1, Fred gets the bye. So that counts as a win. So Fred gets 1. Like that. There we go. Fred done. Emma v Dave, let's give Emma the win. Dave, 1, Emma, win, loss, 1 pile, oops, only 1 pile, where's your 0 pile? Grace and Harry, let's give this one Harry. Harry plays Grace and wins. Grace plays Harry, loses, 0, 1. Rick's going to lose this time. It's not his tournament this time. Oops, round 1 versus Cindy. Rick loses. Cindy wins. Versus Rick. Alice and Bob. Let's give it Alice. Alice wins. 1 versus Alice. Bob loses. 0, 1. Right, at this point, strength of schedule doesn't apply. We have no idea at this point the relative strengths of any of these people, so we can't work out the strength of schedule. So we just do as the same as we did before. So these get a bit of a shuffle. Then we've got Cindy v Harry, Alice v Fred, Emma gets paired down. This is, oops, Bob, there we go. Grace gets Dave, Rick gets the bye. So round 2, Rick gets the bye, goes to 1, put him over there for the 1 pile. What are we going to do, Cindy v Harry? Let's give it Cindy. So 2 versus Harry, Cindy wins. 2 versus Cindy is a loss, stays on 1, goes to 2, there's my 1 pile, there's my 2 pile. Alice and Fred. Round 2, Fred, let's give it Alice, so win. Round 2 versus Alice, loss, stays on 1, goes to 2. Emma v Bob. Right, so 2, let's give it Bob. So 2 versus Emma, win, loss. Pause for a moment there to think. So all into the 1 piles. And the last two, let's give it Grace. So 2v Dave, win. 2v Grace, loss. Stays on 0, goes to 1. Like that. Right. Now we've got some information about how good roughly everyone is in the tournament. So we can start to calculate strength of schedule. So what we do before we pair up the next rounds is we go through and we say, right, how good are the opponents of each of these people? And how many wins are they on? So we go, Rick, how good's Rick? Rick's worth 1. So we put 1 in this column there for now. And then Harry, how good's Harry? Harry's only a 1. So your round 2 strength of schedule for Cindy is the sum of those two. It's 2. Alice, let's play Bob. What's Bob on? Bob's on 1. 1. Fred, that's Fred. Fred's on 1. So Alice's strength of schedule is 2. It's not surprising really. We didn't really have to do that for those two because they're the only two on 2 and they haven't played each other. So they were going to play each other always anyway. But here we go. Rick. Buys have a basic strength of schedule of 0. 0 for your strength of schedule on a buy. So Rick was against Grace, who's now on 1. So Rick's round 2 strength of schedule is 1. Harry played Grace and Cindy. So that was a 2. Grace is a 1. So Harry's strength of schedule for round 2 is 3. Starting to pair them apart now. Fred, buy is 0. Alice is 2. Strength of schedule for round 2 is 2. In between, there we go. Grace played Harry. Strength of schedule 1. Played Dave. Strength of schedule 0. 1. Bob played Alice. Strength of schedule 2. And then Emma. Strength of schedule 1. 3. Emma played Dave, who's a 0. And then Bob, who is a 1. There you go. Winners play winners. So Harry's going to play Bob. Because in theory, the points of their opponents are higher than these people. So in theory, they have played stronger opponents. So they go next. Then Fred gets one of these. It's Rick. And then Emma and Grace. And then Dave. So that took a bit longer, but still not, still not a huge amount of time. And then so we go to the next round. So we go round 3. It's going to get the buy for 1 to go to 1. Cindy and Alice. So we go round 3 versus Alice. Let's give it Cindy. Alice wins. So Cindy wins to go to 3. We've got round 3 versus Cindy. Loss. Stay on 2. There's your 2s, there's your 3s. Bob and Harry. 3 versus Bob, give it to Harry. Harry goes to 2. Round 3 versus Harry. Bob lost. Stays on 1. There's my 1s, there's my 1s. So Cindy's on 3. Oh yeah, look at that, isn't that interesting? Because that was a pair down that just got lost, we've already got a clear winner in this tournament. Doesn't always happen with 9s, as you saw last time round it didn't, but just the way it's fallen out. This round it has. So yeah, Fred was playing Rick. Round 3, Rick. Fred wins. Fred goes to 2. Rick was playing Fred, loses. Stays on 1. The 1s, there's 2s. Let's give it Grace. There's a win. There's 2. Stays on 1. There we go. And oh look, we're already in this tournament, got a winner. Cindy wins. Well, that's great. But if we wanted the proper Buchholz strength of schedule, this is the usual strength of schedule that we work out. Where's everyone else place? Here are all your 2s. If you're doing top 4 or top 4 cut, you need to know off your Buchholz who is going to be that person. So we do it again. Fred, buy counts for 0. Alice, what's Alice on now? Alice is on 2. Rick, what's Rick? Rick's on 1. So Fred's strength of schedule for round 3 is 3. Grace, Harry, what's Harry on? Harry's on 2. What's Dave? Dave's on 1. What's Emma? Emma's on 1. So Grace's strength of schedule is 4 for round 2. Sorry, for round 3, after round 3. Alice played Bob, who's on 1, and then Fred, who's on 2, and then Cindy, who's on 3. She goes to 6. Harry played Grace, who's 2, then played Cindy, who's 3, then played Bob, who's 1, 6. Okay, we're not going to bother with those, don't need to worry about them. We're just interested in these. So the highest numbers are Harry and Alice on 6, then Grace, and then Fred. Which is unsurprising if you look at this, because it means the people who've ended up towards this end are the people who played Cindy. Cindy's undefeated, so she's in theory the strongest person playing this tournament. So the people whose only loss has been to Cindy, Harry and Alice, have ended up effectively in the sort of second and third place. Which way round are they? Well, what you do, you can then do things like median, Buchholz. You can look have they played each other and who won for that tie break, or you can use the same tie break as before, in which case Harry's a 4, Alice is a 5. Other ways to break it down. Basically, so the basic Buchholz isn't great at a tournament with only like sort of 3 or 4 rounds, but it will give you sort of an answer if you're interested in the top cut. So there you go, that's Harry and Alice, and then Grace ends up 3rd, and then Fred was 5th, and they're somewhere off. So that's how you can calculate Buchholz strength of schedule, which is the usual way to do strength of schedule, on the fly as you're doing a tournament. It adds a little bit extra to each round. You've got to do this extra bit of calculation. As you can see, the longer the tournament goes on, the more rounds you play, the more calculation you have to do each round, because you've got to recalculate it, because it's based off what the opponent's score is at that point, not what they were last round. So you've got to check whether it's gone up or down since last time. But that's sort of intermediate level Swiss tournaments. Generally, for our kind of stuff, Keyforge, I wouldn't bother unless you feel like you really need to. But if you're trying to pick up a tournament that's gone awry because your tournament software has fallen apart, you need to know how to do Buchholz, and because it's usually what's often used as the sort of strength of schedule. So you need to then explain and work it all out by the way of that system. Equally, some of the game companies, like I think for FFG, they do state that you should be using Buchholz or strength of schedule for your tie breaks. But that's it. That is the sort of next level of Swiss. It can get more complicated than this. You can do all kinds of things. Median Buchholz is where you discard the top and bottom highest numbers on tied. So if you're doing the sort of Harry, Alice, Grace, Fred again, you'd get rid of the top and bottom, so it'd be 3 for Harry, 2 for Harry, 2 for Alice, 1 for Grace, 1 for Fred. Median Buchholz comes into play for larger tournament rounds. It basically gets rid of some of the variance from getting lucky early on. The match played break ties is, as we just said, have they played each other? If they have and they're tied, the person who won the match when they were against each other wins. And you can do all sorts of other kinds of stuff. Things get more complicated where you can start bending the rules of Swiss. We really shouldn't do it for Keyforge. There's no need to. But things like chess, where you've got white and black and you alternate between, it does come into play. Or things where you've got seedings, you play around with. Maybe there's you play the top seed versus the bottom seed in any round, and things like that. But all of that is not really needed. This is about as high as you will ever need to go for a Keyforge tournament. So there you go. I hope those sort of 2 tutorials are useful the next time you either find your laptop has died at the start of a tournament, so have no way to do it, or if you get to a round and find out your tournament software is giving you a result that is pair up that doesn't make any sense. Well, you can just scrap it and do it yourself. I don't think it's hard. I think once you've seen it done and you've done it a few times, it's pretty easy. It's all just basic math. There's not even any multiplication or division here. It's all just addition. So that's it. Good luck. Good luck using the Swiss system.